Energy. What is it? Well, it's very important. It's the most vital thing in our everyday lives. It charges our phones, powers our hospitals, and lights up our houses. Where would we be without it? Well, in a pretty bad dystopia, of course.
Now, energy doesn't come from nowhere. We have to make it. For many years, we have been extracting resources from the ground and burning them to create electricity. This is called fossil fuels. However, the problem with fossil fuels is that they create a lot of CO2, and our planet doesn't really like that.
Climate change. The real-life apocalypse. The end to humanity as we know it. How do we fix it? Well, we need to go green. And by that, I mean literally go green. We need to go nuclear. Hi, I'm Heisenberg.
And I'm Dr. Baron von Nuclear.
And we're here to tell you why nuclear energy is awesome. Now, in order to convince you that nuclear energy is in fact awesome and why we should be using it more, you first need to understand how it works. So let's talk science. Now, nuclear energy is simply the splitting apart of an atom and producing energy from that. This is called nuclear fission, where the nucleus of an atom is split into smaller pieces, which release radioactivity and heat. This heat can be used as energy like heat from burning coal and other fossil fuels. There is also another process called nuclear fusion, which is the combining of a nucleus. But fission is used most, so we'll just stick with that. Now, this process of nuclear fission commonly takes place in a nuclear reactor. This reactor is fueled by uranium-235. Which produces a lot of heat. This heat is used to produce steam by heating water, which then spins a turbine connected to some generators which create electricity. This process is immensely more efficient than producing energy from fossil fuels, but it also produces a bit of waste. After the uranium-235 fuel rods are used, they still can contain radioactivity, which is released for hundreds of years. So what we do at the moment is contain the waste in a storage unit and store it away for a few years. That few being around tens of thousands of years.
Now, I don't really want to be a devil advocate here, but isn't like dumping toxic waste for thousands of years unethical? Like, you know, where do we find a place to store all this stuff? Over 30 countries around the world operate nearly 400 reactors, and only one of them is taking it seriously. Finland. I mean, yes, it can be used for other purposes, but don't tell me nuclear weapons. You know what happened at the end of the Second World War with Hiroshima and Nagasaki? In 1970s, the big nuclear powers sold peaceful nuclear tech to small countries which have developed their own nuclear programs. If nuclear power is so green and great, why does it have the power to, no pun intended, wipe out all of civilization? Pretty ironic, don't you think?
No, bro, calm down. I thought you were on my side. I thought you were for nuclear energy. But you still do bring up some good points. Realistically, putting radioactive waste into a storage unit is way less harmful than what fossil fuels do with pumping out greenhouse gases into the air. If you look at the data, nuclear energy has saved lives. A 2013 study conducted by NASA found that nuclear energy has prevented 1.8 million deaths between 1976 and 2009. Even with all the major disasters, nuclear energy is ranked last in deaths per energy produced. And also, research has gone into creating nuclear reactors which produce reusable waste, so waste which is used as fuel for nuclear power plants.
Yeah, sorry about that, but, you know, it's stuff to consider. Gotta make it interesting. Now, you know how nuclear energy works, but let's ask a question which is probably on your mind. Is it actually safe? When you hear the word nuclear, you probably think of the bomb that Oppenheimer made, becoming the destroyer of worlds, or you think of the nuclear disasters, the meltdowns of Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and more recently, Fukushima. Nuclear meltdowns are scary. There's no argument against that. But they're rare. Like, really rare. Really, really, really rare. And there's technology that can prevent it. Modern-day reactors use a system called defense in depth, which has many layers of defenses, fail-safes, and switches, sort of like an onion. And this means that even if one system fails, there are other systems in place to guarantee that there's no huge meltdown. We don't put all of our eggs in one basket. Another possible security risk is the problem of nuclear waste. When nuclear reactions happen, nuclear waste is created. While 97% of all nuclear waste is not dangerous, the other 3% is highly radioactive. While we imagine nuclear waste to be this toxic, green, oozy liquid thanks to all the cartoons such as The Simpsons, it is actually not liquid at all, but rather as solid rods. These solid rods are then stored in massive concrete containers called dry cast, which fully block the radiation from the outside world. And as we've mentioned it, this can possibly be reused. Now, the question is, how safe would you feel living next to a nuclear power plant? Well, if you think that you wouldn't be safe, you might want to reconsider that, because I bet you won't actually end up like the fish from The Simpsons.
Thanks, bro. Nuclear energy doesn't actually sound that bad now. We've learned how it works scientifically, but how does it work logistically and economically? How efficient and expensive is it? Well, nuclear energy can produce energy no matter the weather. You see, solar needs the sun, and wind, well, needs the wind. Both sort of depend on the weather. Nuclear energy, however, does not. It also doesn't take as much land as some other forms may do. Sometimes solar farms can take up a hell lot of space. Nuclear energy just needs a field, and it could be raining 24/7, but you still would produce energy efficiently. And when we say efficient, we actually mean it. It is really efficient. A small amount of nuclear fuel can create a huge amount of energy, which means its resource consumption and greenhouse gas emissions aren't so high. Now, to be honest, economically, nuclear energy, it's not cheap. It's expensive. However, it does offer long-term benefits. When a nuclear power plant is built and operational, it produces a lot of energy for not a high cost.
Thanks, that was really well said. Science is always evolving and scientists are always coming up with new ways of improving on our current day technology. Currently, there's a lot of research and investigations going on into improving and advancing nuclear energy. As we have mentioned, scientists have made reactors which produce reusable nuclear waste in order to combat the whole waste issue. There's also research being done into creating a reactor which does not produce any nuclear waste at all, completely removing that problem. The thing is, nuclear technology sort of stagnated in the 70s, which means a lot of the current nuclear tech is outdated. This form of energy might be the only way to slow down the effects of climate change. Even in the perfect world, switching fully to renewables will take time, so nuclear energy might be our best bet.
So in this video, we have talked about the science behind nuclear energy, the issues revolving around it, such as what we do with the waste and the safety of it. We have also mentioned the logistical and economic aspects of it too.
We hope that this video has been really useful to you in deciding where you stand about this issue. So, that's been it for us.
Wait!
What?
We need to do something.
What is it?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.